Hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. I've been talking about the old covenants and the agreements that God had in the Old Testament. And these agreements was a way for God to reconnect with man and work with man so that at some point he could get Jesus born into the earth and we could be redeemed and brought back in our original position and our original condition, which would be sons who are sinless. Now, the last couple of snippets, I've talked about the Mosaic Law, the agreement that God made with Moses and the Israelites and that group of people. The Bible tells us that the law in itself was perfect. Why wouldn't it be? A perfect God wrote it, and he had a perfect target of what people could hit if they wanted to be like him and be perfect. Here's the thing. The Israelites were so self-confident, they actually said, you tell us what you want from us and we will fulfill it. We will perform it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that's living in religion. Now, you may not say this out loud, or you may not have heard it said out loud, I should say, but there's people in the religious system that think that. They think, you just tell me what you want and I can live it and I can walk it out. Guys, please don't ever get in that mindset. God lives on a completely different level than us. He doesn't think like us. He doesn't, all these bad thoughts that we have that come in, he don't even have them. So see, we live different than God. Let me keep moving though, because I do want to talk to you just a little more about the Mosaic Law before I move on to my next subject that I want to teach you on. But in the Mosaic Law, when they agreed that they would keep that law perfectly, they failed. So what we have here now is a legal agreement that has been broken by one of the parties. And did you know that when you break a legal agreement, number one, the person that's in the agreement with you can walk away because you broke the agreement and they don't owe you nothing. The second thing that they can do is hold you accountable for the damages that you have done. So with the Moses Law, the only way that God could get around calling it quits with mankind because we broke our agreement with him again, is he had to put a system of atonement in place. And you're going to see the word atonement all through the Old Testament. And I want to talk to you today about atonement. Atonement means to cover, okay? You take this, okay, and this is an atonement. You put this here, and what they would do is they would sacrifice animals as a payment or a covering, an atonement, and it would cover their sins, and that way the agreement that they had legally broken could keep moving forward, and God wouldn't have to just say, okay, we're done, okay? So let me keep going a little further on this. So this system of atonement, I want to explain that to you. It's like owing a huge debt on a credit card. You have maxed the card out. And the way that you keep the credit card company from demanding a full payment from you is you pay the interest. So you pay the interest on this big debt that you owe, and that credit card company will just keep pushing it forward and pushing it forward. Did you know that's what God was doing with the debt that they owed him over breaking, and it actually was the debt of all humanity, our sin and wrongdoing. He found a way that he didn't have to make us show up at court and be judged for all the bad things that mankind had done through time. So what God did is he had an atonement, a covering, to push that debt to a later date. So finally we get Jesus born into the earth through that Abrahamic covenant. And so what Jesus was, he was the full and final complete payment for all of mankind's wrongdoing. But Jesus was not an atonement. Now I know sometimes you hear that in different teachings at churches or whatever, but the word atonement means to cover. Jesus did not cover our sins. Okay? Jesus remitted our sins. Remit means to remove, to erase, to make it as if it never ever happened. So here, let me say that again. See, this is atonement. We cover it, right? What Jesus did is that he remitted sin. He carried away, and now you can never see where it ever existed before. That is the difference in atonement and remission, removal. So now that Jesus has paid for our sins and got all of that old junk out of the way, he can enter into this new covenant for believers who will believe on him. And it took his blood, because I'm in Matthew 26:28, and he says, "This is my blood of a new and better covenant. My blood ratifies this agreement and has been poured out for the remission of sin." So here we have, in that one statement, Jesus explains what him dying on the cross was going to do. Number one, he is going to ratify and put in place this new and wonderful agreement between himself and his Father that we can enter into through Jesus. And he is going to pour out his blood to once and for all pay the credit card debt. He's not only going to pay the interest, he's going to pay the full amount, and he's going to make everything be settled. And he has removed sins and remitted them, and now it's as if it has never happened. I've said this one other time. Jesus carried our sins as far as the east is from the west, and the reason for that is God our Father never wants to see those again, and Jesus made that happen. Listen, I'm going to let you go to recess now, and I thank you, and please, if this has blessed you, share this with other people so that they can learn and know more about what Jesus did for all of us. God bless you, and I'll see you again.